Our guest today is best known to a lot of people for his older work at Once Upon a Time, Trigger Happy, The Big Phone. We talked about that earlier, but he's presented travel shows which saw him drinking too much in places all over the world, and now an award-winning travel writer with books that include The Dark Tourist, The Conspiracy Tourist, and so many other stories. Dom, Joly, what a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me in. For a travel writer, I nearly didn't make it. I've been stuck on a train for two hours.
Well, we can explain that away by saying that you are the most punctual man in showbiz. That's your...
Yeah, it's really uncool. Like, my agent actually told me off because I'm sort of obsessively early for stuff. So if I'm meeting someone at 7, I'll be there at 6:30. So if they arrive on time, they're half an hour late. It's so uncool.
So you've got a strange relationship with time.
Yeah. So I do, yeah.
My dad used to collect us from parties when we were kids. You'd see the car pull up outside. We go, it's not over yet.
Yeah, I know. That's me. That really is.
Are you the dad?
Yeah. I'm early dad.
And you see the shadow of the car coming to wreck the bus.
Just hovering over the horn.
Waiting. Clock ticking down to the 6 o'clock.
Yeah. Bang,
Where are you? Okay, but thanks for being so punctual.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was just saying to as we were beginning, I was putting on my glasses. I said, Dom, these are my eyes now. I can't go anywhere without them. And you said...
Well, I've just, but I had eye surgery, which something I didn't want to do. And genuinely, I think it's the only time in my life where I felt time go back. Like, I felt younger. I had it done. And then 5 minutes later, the first real test, the thing that I hate, you're in a shower, not that I was in a shower 5 minutes afterwards, and you're looking for the shampoo, the conditioner, and you just can't read. Like, why don't they just make it massive, shampoo, massive? I could read that. I could read the back of a pill bottle. God. It's honestly changed my life. It's amazing.
Like in one of those old churches in New Orleans, and you can see.
Except they're grifters. This works. It's really good.
Let's talk about grifters and conspiracy
See
theories.
how I segued into that.
Beautiful segue and straight back. The interest, I mean, what age are you? Do you mind me asking?
I'm 56.
Okay, we're not too far from each. I'm 51. And so when we were growing up, it was always Lord Luke and Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously the big one, JFK.
Yeah.
Who shot JFK? These were the conspiracies that didn't consume our lives. But if you were to talk about conspiracy theory, that was it. Now.
But they were quite fun as well. They were fun. I mean, like, relatively speaking. But yeah, they were kind
goofy,
of...
weren't they?
Yeah, I think they were. And they gave you a healthy kind of questioning of authority. And it was kind of a bit of a historical, like, wander around stuff, and it was a bit of fun. Did we land on the moon? Is Elvis alive? Who really cares? But it was fun.
Yeah.
And then there was a moment I really feel I can pinpoint it.
I'm dying to hear where we begin with this.
So pinpoint it with the Donald Trump's spokeswoman. She used the term alternative facts. Kellyanne Conway, 2016, and I genuinely think that was the moment, because before that you'd argue about stuff, but you'd argue around an accepted truth, sort of.
Yeah.
From that moment on, everyone has their own truth. We're all polarised. We're all in our own little boxes. And if you say something that I don't say, you're either in on it or you're paid by somebody, or you just, everyone has their own truth. And it's gone crazy. It's made politics almost impossible. It's made elections terrifying. But it's made news. It's made experts. It's made people that have done years of study and stuff completely illegitimate. And I think that's a really terrifying thing.
And have you managed to get a handle on what's driving it? I mean, it's one thing that it is...
I think we all know what's driving it. I mean, it's the internet. I mean, it really is. As an example, I set up a fake Instagram page for a fake conspiracist, and I followed the usual suspects, Alex Jones, the grifter, and David Icke, that sort. The moment that algorithm senses that you're interested in that, the stuff you'll find into your Instagram page is extraordinary. And if you put my real Instagram page and the fake one up against each other, they are in completely different universes, which is why I don't blame people that go down this rabbit hole, because it's so difficult to get out of. It suddenly becomes your community, it becomes your existence, your friends become that, it becomes your identity.
Yes.
It's a new religion.
It's a new religion.
Yeah.
Because in some ways, for so many people, the church drifted out of their lives.
Yeah.
And they had nowhere to go.
Well, it's a vacuum. We hate a vacuum.
Nature hates a vacuum.
Exactly.
And in they go. And I suppose what a lot of people listening today, nearly everyone in a family or friend set kind of lost one person to the internet in the last 5 years at least. With the pandemic, which we don't need to get into necessarily, but that they went down the rabbit hole, and really there's either no way of getting them. They just went a bit odd.
It is. Every Christmas, every birthday, there's a weird uncle that turns up who believes in chemtrails or something, and it is very weird.
Yeah.
I mean, the advice I'd give, having talked to a lot of people about this, the more you challenge them, the more they actually retreat into their beliefs. Actually, it's a bit like alcoholics. You have to wait till they hit rock bottom and sort of find their way out themselves,
sad,
which is really, really sad.
Chemtrails, you say, yes. I just saw that. This is what the airplanes leave behind them in the sky.
They're water vapours that come out behind planes, but chemtrailers believe that it's the government or shady forces spraying gas so that we, the sheeple, become suppressed. Sheeple's a good word.
Great.
When we use when you challenge a chemtrailer and say, but they're spraying it over us all, so how do the chemtrailers themselves not get sprayed?
Yeah.
There's talk of gas masks and stuff, but now, like all conspiracies, they've segued and they've moved on. So now it's not about chemtrailing, now it's about geoengineering, and they've taken, because every conspiracy has a kernel of truth. You know, they do cloud seed in places to try and make it rain in places that it isn't, and that's been turned into global control of the weather. And this is all sounding like I care about this. I don't.
Yes.
I'm not massively anti-conspiracy. I just wrote a book about it because it's a funny subject, and I'm touring it because I want to look people in the eyes that believe this stuff. I wanted to meet a flat earther and go, genuinely, you think the earth is flat?
Oh, we have so many places to go. Obviously, you wrote a book which came out last year, The Conspiracy Tourist Travels Through a Strange World, which I've been really enjoying. But you're also doing the conspiracy tour. You can go to domjoly.tv for details on that. Ray has been on to WhatsApp. Could you ask Dom about the prank? We're going back in time just
back
for a moment.
Back to Trig Happy.
Yes, with the Santa Claus stuck in the chimney and then getting the chimney sweep out. It was class. Of course, it was Trigger TV. Yeah.
So this was a lot of things that went wrong at Trig Happy. So that was in Colchester in Essex, and it was the guy I made Trig Happy with was called Sam, and his parents had a house there. And so we had an idea for calling in a chimney sweep, and the joke being there was weird stuff stuck up the chimney, one being a burglar who came out, but the second one was a Father Christmas. And so the joke was, we go, I don't know what it is, it's blocked. And then he puts all his sheets down, starts shoving the thing up the thing, and Father Christmas falls out. But the nightmare was the guy turned up, and he was quite an elderly chimney sweep. And we did have a little think and thought, well, what if he has a heart attack or something when Father Christmas comes down, and what do we do? And I'm ashamed to say we made an executive decision to go for it. And if he did, unfortunately, die, we were going to put him in his van and drive him 2 miles away and go, nope, he never turned up. But it was fine. He survived. And he became a local celeb.
Did he?
Yeah, he became the Trig Happy chimney sweep. Yeah.
Happy ending.
Yeah.
So from dark humour to dark tourism,
Yeah.
let's go back to your conspiracy theorists. And by the way, you have 2 dogs.
I do, yeah.
Truman and Fitzgerald.
That's right.
Named after writers, I take it.
That's right. Yeah,
Truman Capote, F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Very good.
Oh,
yeah.
I passed the test.
Because it could have been presidents. Because it could have been
John F. Kennedy
Scott
and
Fitzgerald,
Harry Truman.
John Fitzgerald. But yeah, so no, I named mine after writers.
The people that flog conspiracies and the people that are you mentioned Alex Jones, grifters.
Yeah.
It could be Donald Trump for some people.
Yeah,
some people listening in probably love him, and so we're not being political per se, but well, you can't
Yeah.
help it. But
Yeah.
do you think that a lot of these of the people you mentioned David Icke as another? Are they monetizing fear, or do they sincerely believe what they're doing?
Yeah, and this is, I think, when I started writing the book, I have to admit, I tried to do it with an open mind, but I was pretty sort of non-conspiratorial, and I kind of did feel most people that were into conspiracies might be a touch thick. Having done the book, I've changed my mind, actually. Yeah. I've realised, if anything, a lot of real believers are actually overthinkers. They think too much, and they sometimes get the wrong end of the stick, but they're genuine and they're fearful. The people I really have an issue with are the grifters, the Alex Jones, the people who start slagging off parents who've lost kids in school shootings, David Icke, Donald Trump to an extent. These people do not believe in what they're saying. They're doing it because it's a massive moneymaker, and they're exploiting people's fears and people's ignorance, and I think they're an incredible danger. But people listening to this will go, you've been paid to say this. You're being paid by Bill Gates or whoever. I wish, but I'm not. Yeah,
okay. That makes it a little bit so depressing because it's so cynical.
It is, and this is, I don't want people to think that this is a very depressing book, because it is essentially a funny book and a funny tour about quite a funny subject, but there are really dark, undertones to this, and there are real problems coming up with things like deep fake and AI. It's only going to get worse.
It's only going to get. It's going to be so. It's going to be.
We're all doomed.
No. Don't think it is serious.
Anyway,
but we're all
now a happy tune.
But you talk about the AI and deep fake, and I find myself increasingly concerned about what to believe when I look at anything.
Because, supposedly the camera never lies and all that. I saw one of Obama the other day, and it was Obama speaking, and just by what he was saying, it was very clear it wasn't Obama, but it didn't even look like that. There's a thing called Uncanny Valley, which is where it sort of just looks real, but you can tell it's slightly on the edge of a computer game.
Yeah.
But I think within a year, you're not going to know. And then what do you do?
Yeah, but that's the problem. Is trying to drift through all this and finding out what's real,
Yeah.
what's imagined. Last point I wanted to talk to you about was the first point you make in the prologue of your book about Thomas, your neighbour, and Zero the dog.
Yeah.
And how you were getting on fine, it was all great, and then someone mentioned Biden and Trump, and then you realised, okay, he's there, you're there, and then you're into a warfare, which kind of illustrates that gap between people in their.
I think it's really frightening because so this is someone just sits on a bench near where I live, and we used to chat and have dogs and chat away and stuff, and then one day, I can't remember, it was something about the election, and I suddenly realised he was a Trumper, which is fine, and I wasn't. But then he got a lot darker, and he just suddenly went on all these theories. And I suppose what's so weird is that there are so many people with this stuff going on in their head, and that's the only time you know that is online. It's when it's sort of like road rage. It's when you think you're anonymous and all this stuff comes out, and it is terrifying. And what's really terrifying is I think most of us are somewhere in the middle. Yeah. I hate extremists on both sides. I think most of us agree with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But on the internet, nuance, you can't do nuance. So you have to pick a team.
Yeah.
And that's a really weird place to be.
That's it. That's the conspiracy, or at least the theory I have is 3% either side, and the rest of us are in the middle.
And the rest of us are normal and quite nice. And that's the bad thing about conspiracy culture, is it assumes that everyone is kind of up to no good and evil, and that's just not true.
I was just paying a bill.
Yeah.
Dom Joly, I've really enjoyed meeting you. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing your show. For tickets to the Conspiracy Tour, go straight to Dom Joly TV. The book also magnificent, The Conspiracy Tourist. Great to see you. Good luck with the tour, and we'll see you again soon, I hope.
Thanks for having me on.
Virgin Radio.